Hey there, everyone. This is Professor Carthy, and we are going to have our first lesson in the history and evolution of hip hop. And this is lesson one. And today, I have the honor of having our guest, Ava Cash, and she's going to go ahead and introduce herself. So go ahead and tell me what's your name, what grade you're in, how old you are, and where you're from.
Hi guys, my name is Ava Cash. I am in 7th grade and I am from North Carolina.
Okay, so that's good. And let me just give you a little background about myself. You will understand that I've been at this for a little while. I am originally from Oakland, California, and I have a bachelor's degree in history and education from Spelman, a master's degree in African American studies from Temple, and then a master's from Harvard University in education policy and management. So I really wanted to have this history and evolution of hip hop course, almost kind of as a continuation of what I used to do when I used to teach African American history in Los Angeles. And part of my course was if my students were doing well, I said, you know what, I'll give you a 2-week course in hip hop history. So this is why I wanted to go ahead and give it to the internet and give it to students like so she could learn more about hip hop, because even though it's on the radio, most students don't know about the history of hip hop. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And my first memory of a hip hop song that I first heard was Delight. So that was the very first song that I heard. How about for you, Ava? What was the very first hip hop song that you remember hearing?
Mine was Umbrella by Rihanna.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go over the overview. And so I'm going to share my screen. So I'm going to ask you if you can see it. And if you can't, just let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screen share. Alrighty. Let's see if I can just do maybe a tab. Yes. Okay.
I can see it.
Okay. Good. Can you see the first one?
Yes.
Okay. And there's nothing on it except for the what do you see on there right now?
I see like the stereo.
Okay.
And history and evolution.
Okay, great. So I'm going to just go over the format of the class today. And so what we're going to do during this class is we already had our intro. We're going to start off by having a video analysis. So we're going to watch a video and then I'm going to ask you your thoughts about it. So while you're watching the video, I just want you to take any notes on that stands out to you. Okay. Because today what we're trying to do is understand elements of hip hop. So if you see anything that reminds you of hip hop, or maybe you heard of it or you saw it, I want you to write it down while watching this video. And then the next piece, after we go over the video analysis, is we're going to go over into the hip hop or the elements of hip hop, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start out. And we are going to watch The Love of My Life, an Ode to Hip Hop by Erykah Badu. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing it. And I want you to start taking notes. And while it's playing, just I'm going to ask you first when it starts playing, can you hear it? Okay.
Okay.
Video. Ava, can you hear it?
I'm sorry?
Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay. Ooh, wrong one. Oops. Okay. It's going to go ahead and start playing, and I'm going to make it larger. Is it showing up?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, good.
And what we're going to do is go back. I met him when I was a little girl. He gave me poetry. He was my first. But in my heart I knew wasn't the only one. On tables turned, he had to break. But whenever I got lonely, then it's nice.
You can still hear
He
it?
gave me his shoulder. His words were very nice.
Yes. Okay.
That
Good.
is all I have you. 'Cause now there is no other. My love is his and his is mine. My friend became the love of my life. You are my friend, love of my life. I can't depend, love of my life. Without you, baby, feels like I saw true love.
Hot damn, and I can't be stopped because I'm like the MC and I'm as light as a rock. What's up, baby? What you got?
I got this. Well, my name is Apples and I rock your world. I'm also known as the Gucci girl. Well, I'm super cute. Bad, 30, 26, 36 and a half. I hope that you will realize I got the hazel eyes that are hypnotized. And I get to your knees, make you eat cheese. You be so helpless, you be begging me, please. Y'all share that.
Freak, y'all. If you don't stop. To the beat, y'all. If you don't stop. A freak.
Oh, could it be that it was all just so simple then? A teenage love, but you say he's just a friend. He moved around and we kept in touch through his friend Mike. The world was we couldn't rush, but whenever I got lonely or needed some advice, he gave me his shoulder. His words were very nice. And it's all behind me, 'cause now there is no other. My love is this and it is gone. My friend became the love of my life. You are my friend, love of my life. Do I get to be in my life? Baby, feels like a simple true love. Yeah, audition clear.
Y'all know how I met her. We broke up, got back together to get her back. I had the sweater, thought she rolled with bad boys forever. In many ways, them boys made it better to grow. I had to let her. She needed cheddar, and I understood that. Looking for cheese, got her hood back. In fact, she's a queen to me. Her light beams on me. I love it when she sings to me just like that.
You know you rock my world, and you be boy, and I'll be girl, and we don't stop until the break of dawn. You know you rock my world,
Okay, so let's talk about that. So that was by Erykah Badu. Have you ever heard of Erykah Badu?
I have, yes.
So when we say Erykah Badu, do you think of her as part of hip hop or part of just kind of R&B? What do you think about when you hear Erykah Badu?
I think of her as kind of R&B.
Okay, so I think of her as she just we can't necessarily put her in a box, but she is part hip hop, she definitely is flowing with the African diaspora, African centered concepts. But from you in this video, what was your overall impression? Can you give me like an overview of what you think she was trying to do in that video?
I think she was kind of trying to showcase her clothing was kind of old school because they had chains and fur vests.
Okay. And what part of the video did you see the chains and the fur vest?
Kind of like when they were all in a group.
Okay.
I don't really know exactly.
Was it the start or the middle or the end of the video?
It was the start of the video.
Okay, so she had furs and she had chains. Was she wearing a dress? Was she wearing pants? What kind of, do you know any other details of her outfit?
She had kind of baggy pants, it looked like, and sneaker heels.
Okay, so we got that down. So in the start of the video, what can you say was happening? Or let me start off by asking you, what did you write down? How about that? Why don't we go like that? What did you write down so I know what things stood out to you?
Okay, so definitely the clothing and how, I don't really know exactly what happened, but she was with this guy and then the police took her to jail or arrested her.
Okay, so we have the clothing really stood out to you, and then when the guy took her to jail. Okay, is there any other part of it? Okay. So the guy taking her to jail.
Not really.
Okay. So in this video, it's her love. She's professing her love about hip hop. And what she's doing is she's giving you an overview of what hip hop went through and the changes. So in the first part of the video, she starts out and she has her shirt on. And if you want me to bring up the video, I can, so we could like look at it at the same time, but you let me know if you want to do that. Would you like to do that, or we could just go through it? Is that okay?
We can just go through it.
Okay.
Yes.
So with the video or no video?
With the video, I guess.
Okay. So let me try to bring it back. So I'm going to start sharing the screen. So I'm going to talk to you while I start and stop it, and I'm going to give you like a little overview of it. Alrighty. Okay. So let me bring it a little back. So I'm bringing it back. Okay. So the first, oops, I'm going to stop it. Okay. You see that right there? Can you see it behind this thing right here?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you listen to your music from now?
A phone.
Okay. So
I just put it on like Spotify.
Okay. So you have Spotify. So back then, when hip hop was first starting, we didn't have Spotify or things like that. We had to actually carry it around the equipment. So we had, you see right there, that's a cassette deck. So that was the smallest form of bringing around music that we had back then. So you had a record. Have you seen those? They're vinyl and it's a circle. Have you ever seen that? Okay. And so the cassette was a faster way, or a more concise and lighter way that we could carry around the music with us. So you could only really carry around a tape with one person's music, or you can make your own tape. And so that's what's showing right there first. So that part is interesting. So you can probably get that down. So that's the first thing she's going over. And then she shows right over here. And this scene right here, what do you see?
The graffiti.
Okay, so graffiti is definitely part of hip hop culture. And where is the graffiti located on? Is it on a wall, on a car? What is this? Can you tell?
I can't really tell.
Okay, that's a subway train. So graffiti was prevalent on subways. Okay.
Okay.
And then how do they do the artwork? She puts in the spray cans to let you know that's how graffiti was done. You don't take out your oil paints. You have to have something that's fast. So that's why she puts that. Ooh. So if we go back one more slide right after the spray cans, did you see that It flashed right before the chains came on.
Yes, the gold shoes.
Mm-hmm. The gold shoes. And those gold shoes, do you know what kind of brand shoes those were?
It flashed for a second, but they kind of look like Adidas.
Yep, they were. So the golden Adidas are important to hip hop culture because Adidas was like the flyest shoes that people wore back when, hip hop started. So you're real good with your hip hop.
Okay.
And then right here, what do we see?
The gold chain.
Okay, so a gold
necklace.
chain. Yep. So the gold chain is part of hip hop culture too. So just what we talked about so far in the video, we have what things that are part of hip hop culture did she show in this video so far? And this is only 10 seconds since she showed all this. What did she show?
The gold Adidas, graffiti, cassette, and the chain.
Okay. So then we're gonna go through more.
Right here, what we're gonna do is go back.
Did you see that on the shelf?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna go back again. There's something in white with wheels on the shelf. You see it?
Oh, a roller skate. Yes.
So roller skates are important too because they're part of hip hop or the development of hip hop culture and maintaining it too. A lot of people don't think about it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And on that second shelf, you see the vinyl record she has there. So if we look at the things that she's showing you, it's like a lot of the elements of hip hop.
Okay.
This is a famous group that you'll learn about. And this is African Bambaataa. I'm just pointing them out to you. I'll show you videos in some of our later lessons, okay? And so, these were the people who were the forerunners, who were the main groups that made hip hop come alive. So she's wearing a shirt, and it says what?
Hip hop.
Yep. So she is hip hop. Okay. So she's using herself as the metaphor of what hip hop is doing. What does she have on her feet?
They look like big, sparkly boots.
Do you remember that first group? Did they look like they had hip hop clothing on?
No.
What would you say? What kind of clothing would you say that was? Or have you ever seen that kind of clothing before?
I don't think I've really seen that clothing.
How about her shoes that she has on right now in this scene? Seen that before?
Yes, kind of like knee-high, strappy, or lace.
Okay. So they're kind of disco-y, futuristic, Africa, Bambaataa-ish. So it has that elements to it. So we're going to keep going. And you already know what that is on the wall. What did you say? Point out on the train before? That is what?
More graffiti.
Mm-hmm, more graffiti.
Graffiti.
Yep. So hip hop, she said he gave me poetry. So hip hop can be considered poetry because a lot of people use rhyming in their lyrics. Okay.
Okay.
So let's see what he's about to do. So he's doing what kind of dancing? Have you ever before?
Break dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Break dancing.
Yep. So he's doing break dancing, and if you look at the clothing, again, this is a highlight of the clothing that is part of hip hop culture. So you definitely want to have that. So we have fashion is a big part, dancing, and we have the art that she highlighted so far.
He gave me his shoulder. His words were very nice. That is all I have. Now there is no other.
See, and it's not just males who can break dance or b-boy. Females were also part of it. So that's why she got down on the floor, right? And was doing her.
Yes.
And did you see that brand again? You see how the Adidas is? He has Adidas on. He has Adidas pants, and that hat is kind of like. Yeah. Have you ever seen that before? Have you ever seen style of hat before?
Yes.
What kind of style would you say that was, or brand, if you knew?
I mean, I feel like it could be an Adidas hat. It's kind of like an old school type hat.
Okay. I'm not sure if Adidas had hats. I feel like that's more of like a Kangol, if I'm correct. So you probably might want to look that up too. Kangol type of hat. So they have those kind of brims, and then they have the other hats in the back. So there's two types of hats that were popular back then. And of course, your baseball cap. And it's not necessarily to the front, but it's to the back.
Okay.
That right there, that guy, he's a legend. His name is Fab Five Freddy, and he hosted Yo MTV Raps. So that.
My friend,
so when she said it feels like a sample, most of the early hip hop had samples, and still even today. So a sample is you take, a segment of an older record and you run it in a loop, and then you rap over it or sing over it. And so that's the drum machine or sample thing right there.
Hot damn, and I can't be stopped.
Another legend. And then right there, what they do is they put her name, because a lot of people might not know. And so that's MC Light. Okay. You see in the background, what kind of hat is the girl wearing?
Kind of like the old school hat from before.
Mm-hmm. And then you see what MC Light has on her chain. Have you ever seen that before?
No.
Okay, so that's the gold medallion, and that's of Nefertiti, in African queen.
Okay.
So it shows, what does that say about MC Light, who is an MC or rapper, and she has a chain? What would you think when you first saw her, if you knew what that chain or that medallion was of an African queen? What would you think automatically of her?
Maybe she's wealthy.
Okay. Maybe she's wealthy. And then the other thing is too, you probably would think she's wealthy because she has gold. So she's flashing and she's trying to let you know. But the other thing is, people who wear African medallions or African chains or highlight their culture definitely must be proud of their culture. So, So
can't be stopped because I'm like the MC and I'm as light as a rock. What's up, E? What you got?
I got this. Well, my name is Apples and I rock your world. I'm also known as the Gucci girl. Well, I'm super cute and plenty bad. 30, 26, 36 and a half. I hope that you will realize I got the hazel eyes that are hypnotized and knock you to your knees, make you eat cheese. You be so helpless, you be begging me, please.
So if you look at those two that just went against each other, what does that let you know about rap? Do you do it by yourself or do you usually do it in a group?
Normally a group, and I know that some people can do like showdowns or contests.
Mm-hmm. So that is definitely part of the hip hop culture, is like who has the best lyrics, and then kind of like bouncing it off the crowd too. So you see how that guy is like, oh, she came at you like that, or MC Light has expression like, whoa, that was good. So it's it's not about just saying good lyrics. It has to move the crowd, you know, or whoever you're with, you know?
Yeah.
Or else, like back in the day, like the Apollo, people will be like, "You're whack," you know, "You're horrible. Get off."
Freak, freak, y'all. Think it don't stop. To the beat, y'all. Think it don't stop. A freak, freak.
And see, that is a leather medallion, and that's what people would wear instead of necessarily gold chains. They would wear that around their neck.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All just so simple then.
You see how they all have the African medallion? Okay.
Yes.
And it looks like, so this is, why am I forgetting? Fight the Power. See, I know the song, but I'm forgetting right now. I know somebody will let me know later. Gosh, I know. I'll get back to it.
Okay.
So it looks like they're planning something, and then you did mention when she goes out the door.
Right.
You see how he had that hat on? What does this hat say? Have you ever seen that symbol?
I can't see.
Okay,
No.
that's a Raiders hat. So the Raiders would be in Oakland, California, or California football team. And a lot of the rappers used to wear that hat. And one group in particular that came out that wore a lot of Raider stuff was NWA. And so, of course, he would have his middle finger up, and then we'll see what happens. So in that aspect, we're seeing like the change of hip hop. So at first, in the first start of the video, what do we see? In the first part of the video, how does hip hop start?
The record? With the record? Okay.
And then what would you say the style of hip hop was at first? Dancing, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then what happens after they break? What do they do?
Let's
see.
They had the rap battle.
Okay. So they have so in the early rap, we can say they have breakdancing, the rap battle, and then we have the people that are planning. So we could call that kind of era the conscious rap. And then all of a sudden when she comes out the door, you know, NWA bumps, or like a representative of NWA kind of like bumps into her. And that's supposed to be the evolution of hip hop going to so-called gang rap, right? Now, like, what is this right here? If we see this picture of her mugshot, she's in jail, or this kind of represents gangsta rap. So what I'm going to do, so we don't have to analyze all of it, but we can come back there, is I'm going to go ahead and write the time down on this video so that we can go back to it, because we're running out of time. So right now, we're going to go over the elements of hip hop. Okay. So I'm going to stop this part and then go to another part of the screen. All right. Did it stop streaming? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So it stopped streaming. So now we just went over a little bit, or a half of the analysis. We'll say that we stopped maybe around the 2-minute mark. It's a 4-minute video, just to give you an overview of the start, so you can kind of get the elements of hip hop. Because that was my alarm to tell me I have 10 minutes left. So this is just like an introduction, so you are starting to get an understanding of the elements of hip hop, and then we'll go into the history during our next lesson with our overview. So with the elements of hip hop, people usually say, some people say that there's 4, some people say that there's 9. So I'll go ahead and start with the people that say that there's 4 elements of hip hop, and I'll go ahead and let you know what those are. So the 4 elements, some people believe that one of the elements of hip hop that has 4 elements is DJing. So that's when, you're scratching the records, you're putting on new beats and sampling and all that, or sometimes people call that DJing or turntabling. The second element of hip hop is MCing and rapping, rhyming. And we saw that in Erykah Badu's video when MC Lyte and Badu were going battling against each other. And it's very important. There's different types of rapping. You can either write it down. You might see some of your friends in class writing it down in notebooks and then trying to make sure that things, rhyme or sound right or make sense. But then you also have some kind of rap that is freestyle. It's basically somebody putting you on the spot to see if you really have skills. Off the top of your head, if you look around, you come up with some lyrics fast in a hurry, And have you ever seen that show? Is it Wilding Out?
I don't think I've seen it.
Okay. So maybe I could bring in the next lesson or some future lesson on the rapping element, how they go back and forth so you can see, how kind of like the battling is done or freestyling, because it's not written down. You kind of got to be observant. If somebody comes at you one way, the question is, how are you going to come back at them? So we have DJing so far, MCing so far, which is also known as rapping. And the other part, which we saw, was graffiti. Graffiti is like the artwork. Okay. And last but not least, on the 4 elements, which people believe, remember we said there's either 4 or 9, depending on who you are. Mm-hmm. The 4th element is breakdancing, or sometimes referred to as b-boying. But a lot of people who only believe in the 4 elements believe that this break or b-boying encompasses like hip hop dance, the style. And that's why I kept asking you about the clothing, like what were they wearing? It's important. You don't necessarily have to have expensive clothes, but it's kind of like, I don't even like the word flair, but like, doesn't make you have a kind of aura to you. You got to be strong. Right. You got to look like, with the gold, that's what it used to be, is the gold, the hoop earrings. In the case of MC Lyte, she had like the bamboo earrings on the back, the African emblems, either leather, your gold chains. And like you said, when you see somebody like that, you think like, oh, they're wealthy. So it's not just about being wealthy. It's like, I'm wealthy. I want respect. When I say my words, when I come in, I want you to notice who I am. Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and part 4 elements that are also in the, I could say, you say encyclopedia, they say the body, they call it the attitude. I wouldn't necessarily say attitude, because I think like attitude is like a bad thing, but it's the body language which we're talking about. So on the other side, I'm going to tell you about, so we have the 4 elements of hip hop, which some people believe, but some people believe there are the 9 elements of hip hop. I feel like the 9 elements of hip hop are more encompassing and give you the details of each part of hip hop. And the first person who I ever saw talked about the 9 elements of hip hop was KRS-One. And he's a famous rapper. He's old school, and you'll learn about him. And so he was like the first person I ever saw actually. He was actually in a rap concert, and it was almost like he was giving a lecture to let people know like hip hop is a culture. It's not just music. So let's see what he has to say. And I'm going to go ahead and put this video on, and he's going to break it down. And it's, I'm just going to play a part of it. So he's going to give the 9 elements, and then I'm going to ask you what are the 9 elements, and then we'll wrap up. Okay. So my screen again. All right.
nice.
Let me try to go to the next tab. Looks like I'm gonna have to stop sharing for a second.
Okay.
I'm just trying to get to the yikes. Okay, there we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and play this for you. And then afterwards, I'll also share with you just a playlist that I have of all these videos and songs that you could listen to. All right,
Okay.
here we go. Can you see my screen or no?
I can, yes.
Okay, so we are going to go ahead.
Right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you hear it?
A rap session.
Yes.
Okay.
My name is Horace One. And when I talk about hip hop, I know.
One, breaking or break dancing, really b-boying, freestyle street dancing. Two, MCing or rap divine speech. What I'm doing right now, no act. Graffiti art or burning, farming, tagging, writing. Now you're learning. Four, DJing, we ain't playing. You know what I'm saying? Five, beatboxing, give me a yes, and we rockin'. Six, street fashion, looking fly, catching the eye when them cats walk on by. Seven, street language, our verbal communication, our codes throughout the nation. Eight, street knowledge, common sense, the wisdom of the elders from way back whence. Nine, street entrepreneurialism, no job, just get up, call them and get them. Here's how I'm telling it, all 9 elements. We stand in love, no, we never fell in it. Intelligent, no doubt. Hip hop, we not selling it out, we just letting it out. If you're checking us out this hour, we teaching hip hop. Wholly integrated people have it, I'm the present power. Hip hop is something you do, hip hop is something you live. Hip hop is something you live, hip hop is something you live. Hip hop is something you do, hip hop is something you live, it's something you live.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop that. And of course, I'll go over that real quick with you. But did you hear any lyrics that stood out to you?
I heard the 9 elements.
Okay, so that's good. And I'm going to go over the 9 elements. But at the end of the 9 elements, he said, rap is something that you do and hip hop is something you live. And he kept saying that over and over. So that's something probably that I think that you should write down. Rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live. You could do an element of hip hop culture, but not necessarily be part of hip hop culture, you know? Okay. So, yeah. So even if you rewatch Erykah Badu's video, she talks about that it's like commercial, that people only want to just do rap, but they really aren't living the culture. Okay. Right. So according to KRS-One, the 9 elements of hip hop, tell me what you have so far, and then I'll add in maybe where you couldn't pick up because he might have been going too fast.
I have breakdancing, MCing, graffiti, DJ, beatbox, street fashion, street language, street knowledge, and street entrepreneurialism.
Mm-hmm. Street entrepreneurship. You got it all. So you got the 9 elements. And okay. For me, the reason why I like the 9 elements the best is because I feel like it breaks it down so it tells you like what each one is. And next time we'll go deeper into that because I know this is only supposed to be a 45-minute course. I am going to give you homework because I said this is the history and the evolution of hip hop. I would love for you to rewatch Erykah Badu's video so you could stop it and see if any of those elements that we just broke down do they show up in Erykah Badu's video. And so what I will do is I'm going to put the playlist, send you the playlist, but I'm also going to put it up on my page so you can see that video over again. What was I saying before? Okay. Say
the homework.
Oh yes, the homework. So we have that to watch Erykah Badu's video. And then because we're going over the history, after after we go over the elements so we could look at all the different songs and what's going on, I want you to really look at what was going on in New York City in the mid 70s to the I'll give you mid 70s to the early 80s. So I'd say about 1973-ish to maybe like 84. So when I say I want you to look at the history or what's going on in New York, I want you to be able to tell me who was living in New York City? What was the demographics? So when I say demographics, what were the cultures of people who lived there? Who was considered poor? Who was considered middle class? Who was considered rich? What kind of music was popular? What kind of radio stations existed? What did people do for fun? Things like that. So that's what I would like for you to look up. And then we'll come back on Thursday. And then I'm going to, when we start, I'm going to give you a little pop quiz. And it's actually going to be a fun quiz. You're not going to get graded on it. But I'm going to see if you can retain any of the information that you've learned from here. And then actually, you'll be starting the lesson after we go over our quiz by telling me what you found out about New York City that was going on in the mid 70s to early 80s. And then we'll talk about how what was going on in New York City kind of helped the evolution or the start of hip hop and how it was created. Okay. Do you have any questions before we move on or close up for today?
I don't think so. I think I got everything.
Okay. Well, I'm so excited to have you as a student, and I'm glad that we had one-on-one. And I'll see you, and I hope that you have a great day, and see you later.
You too. See you later.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.